Hey, this is Dr. Story. I'm going to show you the greatest stretch ever for your hamstrings, and I'm also going to let you know what the absolute worst stretch for the hamstring is in this video. Now, first of all, most people are stretching the hamstrings as if it was 1965. Here's the deal. Most people stretch their hamstrings, or they think they're stretching their hamstrings, by bending forward and touching their toes. That is the absolute worst way to stretch the hamstrings. Here's the reason why. I'm willing to bet you don't even feel it in the hamstrings. When I do this in my office, I have patients bend forward, try to touch their toes, and regardless of whether they can touch their toes or not is not the issue. The issue is they'll bend forward and they'll actually feel it in their calf. Well, that's not the hamstring. And bending forward to touch your toes is not intended to stretch your calf, but they'll feel it in their calf. Or probably 80 to 90% of people will say they feel it in the back of the knee. And they'll point to the back of the knee and they're not even pointing at the hamstrings. Now, when they feel it in the lower back, when they do this, this is obviously a problem because you should not be feeling it in your lower back. Here's the reason why stretching your hamstrings by bending forward is bad. The first thing is that you're rounding your actual lower back. By doing this, you're actually stretching the ligaments of the spinal column. You do not want to be stretching the ligaments of the spinal column. Ligaments are not to be stretched. But when you round your back like that, what ends up happening is there's some neurological things that happen where the muscles actually shut off, and you're essentially just hanging from your spinal ligaments. This, of course, is bad. The second thing is you're actually stretching your spinal cord as well as the sciatic nerve. Nerves are not to be stretched. When you stretch forward, also what happens is if you have any adhesions around the piriformis muscle, the superior gemellus muscle, or around the hamstring that's attached to that sciatic nerve, you'll actually feel a pulling down into the leg. And this is what I use in my office as a test. So when patients bend forward and they start to feel pain down into their calf, down behind their knee, down into their leg, very often what I'm considering as part of their diagnosis is an adhesion between the superior gemellus and the sciatic nerve, most commonly, or a piriformis syndrome. Also, when you lock your knees and stretch down forward, your hamstrings actually are what's called turned on from a postural point of view. So your hamstrings actually have to contract just a little bit to hold your body up. So when you bend forward and you're actually, in theory, hanging from your hamstrings, what ends up happening is you're actually contracting the hamstrings as well as trying to stretch your hamstrings. So it's like a tug of war with the hamstrings. Now, because people have such neurological problems where they're stretching their sciatic nerve, what ends up happening is they don't even feel the stretch in their hamstrings. So that is the reason why I believe that bending forward to touch your toes is the absolute worst way to stretch your hamstrings. Now I'm going to show you the best way to stretch your hamstrings. And you're going to love it because you're going to actually feel it in the belly of the hamstring. Okay, now here's how you're going to do it. You're going to lie down on your back, and what you'll do is you will bring the knee up past 90 degrees. So it's a little bit up, because when you stretch, you always want to have a bend in your knee. You're going to grab the back of your leg, and you're going to actually contract the quadriceps to point your leg up. Now when you do this, what you want to do also is you want to point your toe to the ceiling. Do not point your toe this way. The reason why is we're trying to stretch our hamstring. You're not trying to stretch your calf, and in addition to that, when you pull your toes this way, again, you're trying to put a stretch on the sciatic nerve. And so you'll feel it down the back of the leg and back in the calf. You don't need to do this. It's not a calf stretch, it's not a sciatic stretch, it's a hamstring stretch. So you bring it up, go up for 5 to 7 seconds, and then after that, bring it down, just kind of relax it there, shake it out, and then go back up, just like this.
5 to 7 seconds, and then bring it down.
So the instructions for this type of stretch is you're going to be lying on your back, you're going to bring your thigh up to your chest, you're going to make sure you're going to go past 90 degrees. So the reason that's important is so that you don't end up straightening your leg. You don't want your knee perfectly straight. You want your knee with a full bend. That way you feel the stretch in the belly of the muscle rather than in the back of the knee or the calf. The other thing that's important is you need to point your toe to the ceiling. Do not dorsiflex or pull your toes towards you. The reason why is because that will stretch or pull on the sciatic nerve. Now it feels like you're having more of a stretch, but you're having neurological tension. And that feels like a stretch, but you don't want to be doing that. And those are the instructions of how to do this. I tell my patients to start out with 5 repetitions each side. You're going to do that each side multiple times per day, 2 or 3 times a day. And within usually about 3 to 4 weeks, patients notice significant differences in their hamstrings. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and if you have any specific questions in regard to stretching your hamstrings, let me know what your experiences are and leave them in the comments section below.